I'm Todd Schrupp with this week's edition of Beyond 140. If you follow me on Twitter, and I hope you do, at Todd TVG, you know I respond to many of your questions and comments. But when 140 characters is not enough, we have this format where I can spend as much time as I like. Let's get right to your questions and comments this week. Starting with Phil, I can tell by his Toronto Blue Jays avatar that he's up in Canada. And so with that in mind, he says, any plans for Purchasable, I'll have to ask Matt Carruthers if that's a word, online streaming of TVG's TV product? This is a big deal for us non-Yanks, meaning us Canadians and other people around the world. This is something that definitely TVG needs to be looking towards, and I know there are discussions behind the scenes of how to make it happen. I don't know if it's going to be a purchasable situation, but the idea of being able to stream at tvg.com our television programming is a request that we have quite often. It's something in the works. I won't say it's high on the priority list, but yes, your idea is something that TVG management is very aware of, and I hope that eventually comes to fruition. Moving on to Kelly Carl, who says, at Todd TVG, with merger of HRTV and TVG, does this mean we're going to have exchange wagering in the near future? Well, the bottom line is, you're probably well aware, Kelly, because you live in California, we could have exchange wagering tomorrow. It just, you have to get the tracks on board to agree to it, and so there's a lot of organizations to bring. But yes, on the books in California, that could happen. As far as the acquisition of HRTV by TVG, it's going to make a lot of things easier with one voice, but exchange wagering is something that's its own entity. And to be quite honest with you, it should be happening right now because, as we said, legally, it could happen in California. Just got to bring all the horse groups together. Lucky sends in something outside of horse racing. Will the Miami Heat make a concerted effort for the 8th seed or pack it in? Hashtag read Riley's mind. Well, the first goal for the Miami Heat coming into this season was to make sure that LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers did not win at American Airlines Arena, defend the home turf, so they have accomplished that. But they are sitting right now as the 7th seed. This is a proud organization despite all the setbacks. Absolutely. They're aiming higher than the 8th seed. It's all about the playoffs for the Miami Heat, and they still have the personnel to do it, even with Chris Bosh on the sidelines. It's all about Miami Heat pride. Peter Bantle, what is your opinion on Bill Finley's article on New York winter racing at Aqueduct? Well, first of all, Bill Finley and I have a little bit of a history. He once wrote a column that said, I might kill horse racing all by myself. I almost did. I did come close. I'll admit that. But technically he was wrong, because officially horse racing is still here, even after my involvement some quarter of a century now. But Bill Finley's points about winter racing and what Aqueduct has become are well taken. I also think it's something that NYRA is very well aware of, and they are making adjustments. You saw that over the winter they tried to implement certain regulations about how often horses could run. It didn't ultimately work, but they are very well aware of what they're up against during the winter, and they're trying to make changes. Can't say that I completely disagree with what Bill Finley wrote, although that's quite often that I do. But yes, I think NYRA is aware of the issues facing Aqueduct in winter racing, and eventually they're going to make changes that will make it a better situation. Drew Trummer is already thinking about Keeneland Racecourse. He says, will seeing me for 2 weekends straight in April drive you crazy? Hashtag we will find out. Drew Trummer, I just want you to drive me anywhere, let alone crazy, and especially at Keeneland. I look forward to seeing you out there. TVG will be on site all meeting long. It'll be my privilege to be there from the opening weekend on. And don't forget, they moved the Toyota Bluegrass Stakes up to that opening weekend, so they're going to hit the ground running that Easter weekend with opening day on that Friday, and then already the Toyota Bluegrass on that Saturday. Anthony Williams sends this in to Beyond 140. If American Pharoah wins his next start, do you think he is the favorite for the Derby? I see him winning his next start because I don't think he's going to be up against much, and he will absolutely be the favorite for the Derby. But consider this. This is an argument I always have with Matt Carruthers. We always try to project who's going to be the favorite of the Derby at what price. Well, we both agree American Pharoah is that horse if he wins his next race. The price is what we're going back and forth on. I'm thinking a 4-1 favorite, 9-2 favorite. It's just that type of year. You're going to have a lot of horses ranging from 4-1 to 8-1. It's a deep, deep group. But yes, American Pharoah, a win in his next start, makes him the favorite for the Kentucky Derby, but still at a good price if you like him. The Foxy Man. Hey, Todd, I was wondering, what did you do before you got into horse racing and TVG? Well, let me tell you what I did before I was at TVG. I was at Calder Racecourse for 7 years in Miami, Florida. I was the guy out in the paddock on the television monitor talking about the horses. I had a job in marketing during the off season. I'd write the radio copy for their radio spots. I'd voice them over, also the television spots, host the replay show, wore a lot of hats at Calder Racecourse, and then I answered an ad in the forum about a startup horse racing network, TVG. As for what I did before Calder, I was at Canterbury Downs in Minnesota, Shakopee, Minnesota for 5 years. In fact, I started out there with Matt Carruthers, who's now with me at TVG, my longest running colleague and friend over the years. But before horse racing, what I did? Nothing. I was all in on horse racing. I started when I was a teenager. I knew it was the profession I wanted to be in, and I've been fortunate enough to make it my career all these years. The Foxy Man, thanks for that question. And then finally, a comment as we end this week on Beyond 140. It comes from Bruce Lawyer. We lost a good one in Alan Jerkins at the age of 85. Bruce, without a doubt, not just a good one, but truly a teacher of the sport of thoroughbred racing when it comes to the art of training a racehorse. Alan Jerkins will leave a void that truly will never be filled. And so, Bruce, thanks for making that point as we end Beyond 140. Alan Jerkins will be deeply missed. Thank you for participating on Beyond 140. If you want to participate on a future edition, follow me on Twitter at Todd TVG.